Morning, Dan and Amy, tall and wide. Tall and wide. That's what the,
Pritzker story.
What are you so tall?
Oh, not tall.
Yeah, that's just wide.
Okay.
Tall and wide
Excuse me.
is,
The name of your new band?
no, but it is a sort of a handle on the border wall from a bygone era. It's being resuscitated by Chris Clem, who's a retired chief patrol agent who served as a U.S. Border Patrol agent for 27 years. Tall and wide is what he says about the wall, the border barriers that should be erected. Chris Clem joins us now. Chris, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me on.
So tell us what tall and wide means.
Yeah, no, again, it's my way of kind of explaining how we should look at securing our nation's border. We should be a nation of tall fences and wide gates, and tall fences is exactly that in some places. That's a border barrier, a wall, a fence, whatever you want to call it, but we need it in locations throughout our southern border, mainly in urban areas where people that cross can vanish into cities, into our neighborhoods, into like in El Paso, the schools, within seconds to minutes. And so we need something to impede, deny, or contain those mass entries. And the wide gates is our lawful pathways, our ports of entry, the legal pathways for people to come to the United States who want to come to the United States. And it's an opportunity for us to control and determine who and what and why they're coming in. And I think that's just a reasonable approach. It's something that's resonated with me for the past 15 years. And then that's what I was speaking about in that op-ed, because I've seen it work. And it's successful when we implement the entire strategy. And one last thing is, when I say the wall, and it's mentioned in that op-ed, is it was a wall system. That's what Border Patrol agents had required, and a wall where it makes sense, lights where it makes sense, access roads, technology in the form of cameras, sensors. That is a wall system for us. And so we need that from the border security piece, and we need the legislators and the people in charge to make some common sense approaches to those wide gates to make sure that we bring in what we need here and to make this country continue to be great.
Well, how many gotaways do you think that there actually are? I mean, I know they say that anywhere from 6 to 9 million, which is a big difference, are here, but then we have gotaways.
Yeah. So, for your listeners and everybody, tuning in, a gotaway is somebody that we have determined that has made an illegal entry, but we were never able to resolve that. So those are documented, known gotaways. We've either seen their footprints, we detect them on camera, we saw them, we just never caught them. I know that the numbers are close to 2 million over the last 3 years, and that's again what we know. There is always that unknown factor, because there are times, especially in the last few years, where we've just had this mass amount of humanity, which is controlled by the south side of the border, the cartels, where they're going to go so they can push their groups through. So if we documented 1.7 million gotaways over the last few years, I would say that the numbers are a little bit higher, because there's those areas across the border that we didn't even get a chance to go out there to look because it's been so busy. To throw a number out there I wouldn't know, I would just tell you that it's going to be higher than the 1.7 that we've documented over the last few years.
The topography along our 1,800 miles of border, you wrote in your piece about that too, just sort of reminding people that you've got lots of different types of landscape, suburban, urban, rural, mountainous, and so that requires a correspondingly layered approach to the technology that's used, to the deployment of personnel. Speak to that a bit, if you would.
Yeah, that's great. So the Border Patrol, the agents, the chiefs, we've determined that there are 3 known operating environments. Urban environments where, as I mentioned, people can vanish within seconds to minutes. Rural environments where it takes minutes to hours for somebody to get to a vanishing point, which could be a highway, a neighborhood or something. And then you have the remote areas where it literally can take hours to days. I've worked in areas of New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, where people will cross and they'll walk 3 or 4 days or more to get to a highway. So in those situations, I don't need a wall in the middle of nowhere where somebody is going to take them 5 or 6 days to get to an interstate. I need technology and I need agents out there. Technology could be cameras, it could be drones, it could be sensor equipment, but it doesn't need to be a 30-foot tall fence. Big Bend in Texas is a great example. There are literally cliffs that are 200 or 300 feet high that no one's ever climbed. We don't need a wall there on top of that. But in an urban area like El Paso, where they can disappear within seconds, we need to have a fencing there. And in some areas, let's let the it always. Let me go back and say this. Always let the local border patrol, let their leadership and the agents on the ground, let them dictate those requirements in concert with the community and the areas there, because look, you don't want to disrupt certain activities that are going on in the ranching community, because hey, there's areas where we have to put the fence a half mile or further off the border, and that gets into people's property. So a little coordination there, but let the border patrol agents make those decisions. We don't need bureaucrats and legislators in Washington, D.C. determining what we need to secure the border. They just need to support us where it makes sense.
Well, what do you make of Governor Abbott? He's asking ranchers and farmers to grab some razor wire and help put it up, the barrier.
Well, you know what? It's a shame that we've gotten to that point. I'll preface my comments that way. But look, I did this for 27 and a half years. I started off as a young agent, went all the way through the ranks, a career employee up into the senior executive service. And I've never seen just a complete, ignoring of the problem like we've had the last few years. And so states have had to step up. And Texas is not going to relent. I can tell you that the relationship on the ground is great with the state of Texas and the Border Patrol. It becomes more of a political battle between the governor and the White House, and that's what gets spun around. But I can assure you that the troopers, the deputies, the National Guardmen, the Border Patrol agents on the ground, and they're all working together to try to do their job, even with all the distractions. Texas has is mainly private land out there and state land, so. Governor's got to do what the governor's got to do. The Supreme Court made a decision that the Border Patrol agents can do what they need, which I think is a good ruling because it still gives authorities to the executive branch, which is constitutionally right. It's just a problem that's unfortunate that the U.S. government and this administration is not supporting what the states need. And they can disagree, but you know what? There's a lot of things going on down there that the federal government could fix tomorrow if they would. And the governor's got a good relationship with his people, so I got to trust that local judgment, not from where I live.
Did you find the Biden offer of $6 billion for border security, hiring more agents, and so on and so forth? Did you find that disingenuous at all, or do you think that would be particularly helpful?
No, I can tell you the problem is the truth details, right? So I think the proposal was like $14 billion for border security, at least one of the initial proposals coming out of the White House. But it was all about processing efficiencies. It was about technology for processing. The vice president recently said the solution is to be able to process these people more efficiently. There was nothing about securing the border and stopping this from this group of these people coming in illegally. See, that's the problem is he's throwing money out there to give more agents. Okay, 1,300 agents. Well, we asked for 3,000 to 5,000 agents in the year before last. We got 300. That didn't keep up with attrition. So another 1,300 is still below the mark that we need. And again, everything that if you read the details, they'll say that they won't pass this bill. The president's putting all this money up. It is not about securing the border in the conventional way, like the agents need, like fill the gaps where the wall stopped, put the technology up. It is about processing. Let me just put it this way. It's about giving more buckets to bail out the water and not fixing the leak. That's what this is what that bill is. And I've read that and I've seen that. It's disingenuous at best.
Explain the process that they keep referring to, and making the processing more efficient and so forth. But the Border Patrol agents' role and in sort of what the reality is in terms of dealing with asylum seekers, and sort of as part of the justice system, if you will, the immigration judges as well, just how border agents fit in between those coming into this country and the sort of the larger infrastructure that deals with that?
Yeah, great question and great ask here. So, Border Patrol's responsibility, our agents' responsibility, is to patrol and control anything and everyone that comes in between the lawful ports of entry. When you come in between the ports of entry, that is an illegal entry, and it's our job to interdict, apprehend, process you, and then turn you over to the next phase of an immigration enforcement continuum. That would be, in most cases, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. If it was a drug-related case, we would turn you over to the DEA. If it prosecute, we would work with the marshals and go through the court system. But in most cases, when they're administrative cases, in other words, we're not going to criminally prosecute you, they go through removal proceedings. Well, when there's Border Patrol will take you into custody, we will process you to get you in front of an immigration judge to determine if you're allowed to stay or go. The problem is you're supposed to be detained for that process, and there's been so many people that have come in this country the last few years, we can't detain people. And when people, you hear the term asylum seekers, I can tell you the 310,000 people that I caught in 2022 when I was chief in Yuma, none of them claimed asylum. What it is there's two ways to claim asylum. There's an affirmative claim where you file for an asylum, and there's a defensive claim. When you get ordered removed, you have a defense to say, I'd like to stay because I have fear of return, and that falls under an asylum claim. That gives them several bites at the apple. Well, when the system has been so overwhelmed and there's not enough judges, you have people that their initial court cases to determine their defensive claim of asylum are 3, 4, and sometimes 7 years out. So those folks get processed. There's no room to detain them. They get released into the communities, and the expectation is they're going to check in, and then they're going to show up for their initial hearing, which is, like I said, several years down the road. So the judges come into play. If we could have expeditious hearings, we can give these migrants who come in, let them know, because I believe clear is kind. If we can send a very clear message, you get to stay or you don't get to stay. But having somebody stay here for several years before they even get their hearing is unacceptable. We wouldn't do that in really any other arena in our world. Why are we doing this with these migrants? It just continues this human exploitation that these policies coming out of Washington are doing, because these people have been through so much. So many of them are already victims of trafficking, and they don't even realize it. And then they're going to be here for 3, 4, 5 years before a hearing to determine if they get to stay. It's really kind of unfortunate that we've gotten to this situation, and it doesn't look like anything's going to change anytime soon, based on all the things I'm seeing and reading.
Chris Clem, retired Chief Patrol Agent, served as a U.S. Border Patrol agent for 27 years, as he was describing. Chris, thanks so much. Appreciate your insights.
You got it. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your business? Do you need cash flow and a ready source for financing? Well, Signature Bank can help. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that Signature Bank's loan decisions